guys are so screwed. You have no idea what is coming down the road for you. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast out there. I'm your host, Stephen Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former staff member at Ole Miss. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 podcast network in America. That is all because of fans like you taking in content like this, and we cannot be more appreciative of that. On today's show, Trinidad Chambliss was named eligible by a judge who did, honestly, the right thing. Ole Miss dominated this case. When if you watch from beginning to end, there is no way that you came out of that in any other way than the NCAA being wrong. The NCAA was found of acting in bad faith. Thank goodness. Ole Miss called them out for selective enforcement. Thank goodness. And they said the NCAA failed in its #1 job to take care of the student athlete. No joke. I'm convinced if it would have gone on for 15, 20 more minutes, and like it was already an hour, if it went on for 15, 20 more minutes, he might have disbanded the whole dang thing, which I don't know if anybody would have any problems with that. But the lead to this story is Trinidad Chambliss will be the quarterback for your Ole Miss Rebels in 2026, and everybody should have a party today because the reality is Ole Miss has the top quarterback in the country, the top running back in the country, and the top kicker in the country on a team that is going to be a top 5 level team and likely compete with the Texas Longhorns for the best team in the Southeastern Conference. These are your Ole Miss Rebels. That is absolutely awesome. All of this and more on today's Locked On Ole Miss podcast and your comments. We'll get to that as well. Remember, we're free and available in all the podcast apps and on YouTube. And a special hello to the insiders and everydayers who make this show what it is, and that is your team every day. Today's episode is sponsored by FanDuel. The winter games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than to bet on FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. It was a weird day, okay? I do want to say that. It was so weird because, first of all, I let out some outrageously hot takes over the course of the last week, and I will be danged if every single one of them were proven true in court today. Everybody talking about it. And a little bit of evidence that I found showed up in the closing argument of Trinidad today. So that's pretty awesome what's going on. But you had the judge being told that you just don't understand by the NCAA lawyer. The NCAA saying, well, D2 to D1, there's different rules there. There's nothing we can do. Well, that's the way it happens. Or whenever they tried to compare the Trinidad case to the Charles Bediako case, that was ridiculous. And then at the very end, William Liston, who was the main lawyer at Trinidad's hearing today, he was very, very good, by the way, basically systematically went after the NCAA on every point that they went in. The bad faith thing, comparing them to a fraudulent insurance company. The way they looked where, hey, Trinidad's going to be harmed because he could do all of this and they won't let him for no reason. William Liston bringing up the selective enforcement aspect of this. Listen, today was an absolute home run for Ole Miss. And by lunch, you knew how it was going to shake out. And here's the thing. The NCAA knew how it was going to shake out as well, because right before Trinidad took the stand, all of a sudden the NCAA released that his reconsideration failed. The olive branch that Ole Miss just kind of put out there to allow the NCAA to take that off ramp after this decision went towards Ole Miss and Trinidad, that one, they just went ahead and denied it just to prove a point on Twitter today. And Trinidad went through his thing, all of that, and Ole Miss relatively easily won to the point where the lawyers, which is unbelievably rare. My wife apparently, she told me, is like, she works in the legal field, but she told me it's very rare for the opposing counsel to not be there for the reading of a verdict or a decision. And them leaving is almost disrespectful for the proceedings that went on. And you just don't see stuff like that. The NCAA left before the final reading, inevitably so they can get to Knoxville and take another L in the Joey Aguiar case tomorrow, because it is the same three lawyers, by the way. But big day for Ole Miss. And we're going to get in the next segment exactly what this means, because right now, the Ole Miss versus Texas game just became the biggest SEC game of the year. Period. Not even close. Whenever you have Arch Manning versus Ole Miss versus Texas will be absolutely beautiful in Austin, Texas. The SEC kind of messed up by not putting that in Oxford, but I digress on that one. This is a top 5 level team. This is a national championship contender with 3 of the best players in college football in highly affecting winning positions. This is a big day. This is perhaps one of the biggest days in Ole Miss football history because of what it can mean for the 2026 season. Ole Miss is going to walk in as a top 5 team. As this starts to circulate and going around, all of the way too early top 25s that you saw at the early part where they had Ole Miss at 17, Ole Miss at 20, where people were just kind of splitting the difference of what was going on. Once they sit down and look at what Ole Miss has put together in the transfer portal and in recruiting and retention, I don't know if there's any way that you won't be impressed about that from the Ole Miss Rebels. Going to be absolutely amazing. Think about this. This is amazing. In an era where Matt Campbell took 30 players from Iowa State to Penn State, in an era where coaches going to another location is followed by players that go with that coach, Lane Kiffin got 4 players, 1 starter, 1 part-time starter, and 2 backup reserve players. That's it. The NFL, 5 players at the NFL Combine. Ole Miss did a masterful job at retention in the transfer portal and with the NFL this year so they can make a run. When you saw what Trinidad Chambliss was able to do last year, he's just going to be able to stack it up on top of that. I am very impressed with what could happen, and we will talk about that in just a second. Remember, if you're commenting, be sure and put where you're commenting from so I can call that out as well. And if anybody was in Pittsburgh, please let us know about that as well. Today was an absolutely monumental day in Ole Miss football history. And if you were a part of it, yeah, we want to give you your props. We want to give you your flowers. Anyway, when we come back, we will talk about what this means for the 2026 season. And spoiler alert, it's really good. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. Dawn Staley and South Carolina remain on top of the SEC standings after handing Tennessee their worst defeat in program history with a final score of 93-40. In the 43-point win, South Carolina shot 69% from the field. Tessa Johnson had a perfect shooting night, scoring 24 points, shooting 4 for 4 from the floor, including 2 threes, and made all 4 of her free throws. And UCLA remains undefeated in Big Ten play, topping Michigan 69-66 as Player of the Year contender Lauren Betts put up a double-double, scoring 16 points, collecting 16 rebounds, and adding 5 assists and 3 blocks. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts the same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Hey, do us a favor, like, subscribe, and comment on this video. Subscribe to the podcast on whichever audio podcast you're listening to and give a 5-star review. It costs absolutely nothing, but it keeps all of this free and can help you out as well. Thank you also for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast in America. You already live your team every single day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today And what you can get, you can get access to a personal Discord server. You can get Locked On Ole Miss shows with no interruptions. And I can send you my own personal Discord link. So sign up, join the Discord, and I will get my link to you so you can join that Discord as well. We have a good time. All for just $5 a month or $50 per year. Go to lockedonolemiss.supercast.com or check out the link down in the show notes to learn more. All right. Today was a really bad day for people that want a little bit less insufferable me, because what you have now potentially is Ole Miss as the most talented team in the Southeastern Conference for 2026. And everybody wants to talk and make jokes and all of this about where they're going to go. Their road just got a lot harder with Ole Miss. So fans of other teams, they're going to talk about the shade tree judge that happened and the My Cousin Vinny and all of that. But the reality is they are worried that Ole Miss is going to beat their butt. And they should be, because the reality last season, with the exception of the Miami game, Ole Miss had 2-score leads in every other game that happened. It wasn't close. Now, sometimes it got made to look close and some things happened that made it get a little bit hairy, but it wasn't exactly close. And Ole Miss's offense scored over 30 points per game a year ago. And the core of that offense is coming back. When you have Trinidad Chambliss at quarterback, when you have Kewan Lacey at running back, and with the receivers that they brought together. We talked about Deuce Alexander and Jonte Cook kind of competing for that number 1 jersey going into the spring or the fall. This offense has a chance to be dynamic, the most explosive offense that has ever existed in the University of Mississippi. But where I'm really excited is the additions that were made on the defensive side of the ball. The Jaheim Otis, those guys, Blake Purchase, Luke Forelli, Edwin Joseph, Jay Crawford. The year ago, Ole Miss could not play man coverage against teams. They couldn't. Their defense and their secondary could not hold up. They had a couple of evaluations that were at best poor. Pete Golding did a good job of kind of putting a Band-Aid on it, okay? But they couldn't play consistent man coverage, and if the offense knew that you were playing man coverage before the snap, you were kind of done for. So what Ole Miss did is go out and get Jay Crawford. Jay Crawford is a Trey Amos level corner to where you can just line him up and he has half of the field. The moves Antonio Kite to a number 2 cornerback. And when you talk about Denson, and when you talk about Janelle Aguero, when you talk about those players with LaDarian Clardy, who played a bunch in the playoff run, when you talk about Keon Young, those guys on the back end of the defense, this defense is going to be potentially pretty special next year. We're talking 2024 level of defensive specialness. And that is because of the talent that has been brought in. Because Pete Golding, in all of his wisdom, and I give him a ton of credit for this, because they went out and got Deuce Knight. But the plan from the very beginning was Trinidad Chambliss was going to be the quarterback for Ole Miss, that Kewan Lacey was going to be the running back for Ole Miss, that the talent that was acquired that everybody was trying to get. I mean, Texas came hard after Kewan Lacey. Those got saved. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness, we can go get some pieces on the defensive side of the ball and be better talent-wise than we were in 2025 when we were 19 seconds away from the freaking national championship game. Last year, Ole Miss had a bad fourth quarter in Athens, but they were, make no mistake, the best team in the Southeastern Conference last year. The core of that team has been added to, and they're back. And this year, the schedule is harder. I'm not saying it's not. The schedule this year is going to be a more difficult climb than it was in 2025. But this team is going to be better than it was in 2025. The key to this season is not having embarrassing losses like you had against Kentucky and against Florida in 2023 or 2024. If you can avoid those embarrassing losses, you're going to be all right. If you go 2-2 in Texas, LSU, Oklahoma, and Georgia, just 2-2 in those, and you win the rest of your games, you're 10-2 in the playoffs, likely hosting a game again. That's the path. And I get the fact that there's 9 conference games in the SEC as opposed to 8 a year ago. You're going to replace the G5 team, the Georgia State, with Vanderbilt. That's or Missouri. I mean, it's going to be a step up in competition, but the team should be good enough to handle that. And most teams around the Southeastern Conference have to deal with that. This Ole Miss football team is going to legitimately come in next season in the preseason as a top 5 team. And nobody wants to play this team. Nobody wants to see them pop up on the schedule, especially not the little guys down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They just got really scared. They just got really nervous. They secretly wanted Trinidad to not get his waivers so bad because this Ole Miss team with Trinidad is a national championship contender. This team without Trinidad would have been a top 20 contender. No shame, no disrespect to Deuce Knight. He's just a true sophomore or redshirt freshman breaking in from the very beginning. There's a learning curve that has to happen. And Ole Miss having Deuce Knight learn behind Trinidad Chambliss for a year to see how to play the position and what Trinidad does well is honestly the best case situation. So we are going to take your questions for the rest of the show. Remember, if you comment on this show, if you comment with what's going on, please put where you're commenting from so we can shout that out as well. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert start to finish without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. I did that this morning, my business and personal all together. It was fantastic. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employment forms, and they get you every single deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives a real peace of mind knowing that an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off of your plate. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. All right, so let's go to your comments and what's going on. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of celebrating in the comments. We might go a little bit longer in 30 minutes, so I'm going to try and get as many comments as I can. But we have J. Paul McDonald saying, way to go, Trinidad. Randy Wilbanks, HYDR, finally, exactly, after all the weird celebration, every time there was an NCAA denial, like that was the final thing, was the most ridiculous thing that I saw. T. Durant's 0429, praise God, congratulations to Ole Miss and Trinidad. Preachers for the judge. Mike McKnight, let's roll, spot the ball. Yes, absolutely. Mark Walsh says, I've been watching this trial all day. I'm so happy. I love the judge. The NCAA is a chump organization. How bad did they look today? Now, I get it. Their lawyer is talented, okay? Those are obviously talented dudes. But they showed up to this with no witnesses. They just prepared to argue for the sake of arguing. And their points what they were, it was so hollow. There was no chance that they could win if there was any substance to what they were going against. If there wasn't the one point that they could argue against the other person, they really had no chance. The NCAA lawyers, as talented as they are, walked into that hearing with their hands full or hands tied, and it was kind of an indefensible position. Really interesting. Ole Miss Braxton says this judge can go rest his voice. Yeah, that was a long read. It was, I think it was like 60 minutes. Bus driver says Kedrick Jones, great day to be an Ole Miss Rebel. Trinidad got the waiver. Rex Thompson says great news for Trinidad and the Rebels. Gerald Clayton says, I bet Lane Kiffin going to be worried about coming into Oxford in September. Trinidad's going to run all over them Tigers. Yeah, he kind of already did once. And yeah, he's going to be nervous because Trinidad is a next level quarterback and everybody knows that. Albert Gardner, this was the right decision. The judges buried the NCAA with their own laws. Great day for Trinidad and Ole Miss. Exactly. James York, HYDR from Vicksburg. What another great day to be a Rebel. Ole Miss 1-0 again. I'm thinking about naming tomorrow morning's show Why Ole Miss Wins, just to be smug. Absolutely nuts. Frank Logan says, Frank from St. Louis, by way of Oxford, Mississippi, this is really unprecedented because since following Ole Miss since 88, we've always been the punching bag of the NCAA. This time we stuck it to them. Yeah, this time we actually fought back. And listen, Ole Miss has gotten to the point as a program to where they can fight back. This was a little bit bad timing as much as anything. It's weird that the NCAA picked this hill with Trinidad to die on. It is absolutely nuts. Xylo Ole Miss Rebels, love the energy, Steven. Huge day for Rebel fans. The Trinidad movie will definitely be made now. Yeah, I think so. Especially if something big happens this year, it will be a Disney movie. It absolutely will be a Disney movie. It'll be another thing like The Blind Side that everybody just is so jealous of Ole Miss of. Gerald Clayton, Lane Kiffin better be worried when he comes to Oxford in September because Ole Miss is going to dominate them Tigers and Ole Miss is going undefeated and winning a national championship. That is the energy I like. That is the energy that we all want right now, especially in February. I like it. That's good stuff. Zachary Turba, the floor is officially 10-2, ceiling 16-0. I like it. Bring it, Zach. Awesome stuff. Earl Wells says out of Houston, Texas, it's a great day for Ole Miss football for 2026. Go Rebels. Mark Bell, good job, Ole Miss. This is Mark from Atlanta, Georgia. Stephanie Foley comes in. Amen from Lou and Steph in Newton, Mississippi. Again, if you see my father, Steve Willis, tell him hey for me. Marcus Hewitt says Heisman loading. Yeah, he's definitely a favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. Now, heck, he finished 8th in a year when his coach didn't promote him at all because he was trying to get him to LSU for the cheaper. Doug Nichols, I was there. I'm from Banner. The NCAA lawyers left as soon as the judge retired to his chamber to decide his verdict. Well done, Doug. And whoever was coughing in the proceedings today, it was so loud. It was so off-putting. And just when you thought it was starting to get a little bit comfortable, it would come in and jar you a little bit. Oh, that was pretty nuts. Must be Dusty. Is it really just his 4th year and he's still enrolled in school every year? A student athlete deserves a 4th year. A 4th year of competition. That was lawyer speak. This will be his 6th year actually in school. He redshirted in 2021. 2022, he got the medical redshirt for. He played 3 years after that. Xylo Ole Miss Rebel says this judge is now the most famous judge in the state of Mississippi. Yeah, I would agree with that. Joey Freeman says he has to be the Heisman favorite. Yeah, at 100%. He has to be. Middle reliever with Trinidad absolutely loves Ole Miss. Yeah, it's pretty cool to think of, honestly. because I do think that Ole Miss fans and Ole Miss fans rallying around Trinidad, they're kind of doing what they're supposed to do, essentially, if that makes sense. Because Trinidad gave Ole Miss the greatest season in any of our lives. I mean, you have to be 70 years old to have experienced anything greater than that or something like that. So for most of us, that was the best season of our life. And Trinidad gave that to us. But also Trinidad, because of the way he was embraced coming from D2, there's a little bit of him owing Ole Miss fans as well. And him coming back, it's a perfect marriage of what could possibly happen. And this is big. And everybody just doesn't understand or just doesn't want him to be there, because Ole Miss would have been an easier out without him. And they know that. They watched the game against the Georgia Bulldogs. They saw that drive with 3 passes in a row, 3 plays in a row that rivals what Jevon Sneed was able to do against LSU in 2008. He was able to do that in a Sugar Bowl, in a college football playoff quarterfinal game. And that was the game that you got to see the weapons, like, just straight up. The weapons for Ole Miss in that game, absolutely ridiculous. The interior of the offensive line is back. You still have to be all right at tackle, which you will be all right at tackle, because if you watch the actual play of the offensive line last year, Trinidad gets the ball out so quickly, you don't have to be overly great at pass pro. You need to be pretty good at opening holes running the ball, because that's going to help Kiwan and that stable of running backs become enforcers. But Trinidad corrects a lot of mistakes in the pass game, especially with the free option passes and the way that he can just put a defensive back and put them in a blender of not knowing whether they need to come up or go out. If you have receivers that catch the ball and that they can get open, which you do, we're going to talk about Jonte Cook. He is absolutely one of my favorite wide receivers for Ole Miss in a while. I'm a huge fan of Jonte Cook. I covered him in the Under Armour All-American game way back in like 2022, whenever he was coming out of high school. And he is one of 2 players that after the game, I was like just completely blown away. And just so you know, the other one was Zach Branch. But Jonte Cook was in that category after the Under Armour All-American game for me. I'm curious to see what he can do in this offense. That's the beautifulness of Ole Miss. They literally brought back in the same offense. There's no system change. Offensive, defense, special teams, it's all the same. And that is a benefit to Trinidad in a year 2. That is a benefit to Kiwan in a year 2. The offensive line that has had some work together. The wide receivers can get coached up from Caleb Cunningham and Deuce Alexander and those guys, Michael Smith and Luke Haas. They're going to be sitting on the field. This team has a chance to be special. And we're going to talk about how special they can be. I'm pretty fired up about where they could end up. And this was going to be Tim Thomas, by the way, until I watched like the first half of the court proceeding. I was like, no, we got to go live about the court proceeding because judge is going to rule today. I have not seen that much of a one-sided thing in my life. It's like you could just tell by the judge's body language, like, yeah, he wants to rule. He wants this over with. And then whenever they said the NCAA lawyers left, it's over. So tomorrow we're going to talk more about Ole Miss being dominant, Trinidad getting his waiver. We're going to talk about the talent on the Ole Miss roster. All of that coming up tomorrow should be really exciting. And if I get done in time, I'm going to get over to SEC After Dark, and I will talk about that a little bit more as well. So I'm very fired up. And thank you so much for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. We're going to continue to talk about Trinidad Chambliss and the waiver tomorrow, and we're getting ready for college baseball season. We're going to try and do 10 to 15-minute reaction lives after every baseball game, all 60 of them. We're going to give that a try. We might miss a couple, but we're going to try to do it. So we'll have that available on audio and on video as well. I do want to thank everybody for tuning in, and make sure you subscribe and follow the show so you can get all the latest episodes. We're on all of the social channels, so check that out as well. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Ole Miss ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonolemmiss.supercast.com to join the club. And for those on video, we're going to send you on over to the 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. And if you're on audio, make sure you check out a second listen, either Locked On College Football or Locked On SEC. We finally freed Trinidad. We finally got there. And we are loading a national championship level season. And that is something you just can't quantify it. Anyway, hotty toddy, everybody.